my goodness. Hi, my gorgeous humans. How are we feeling today? Who do we have here? We have Gabby, we have Kayla, we have Bahana. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am so freaking excited for today for Healing from Heartbreak. We are going to be, I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be catching the replay because time zones are all over, but I'm so excited that you're here live. And just in this energy, it's funny, no matter how many times I do these things, my hearts always get this like little flutter. And I'm like, oh, can we go? Can we be here? I feel like I've been preparing for this for lifetimes. But within this hour, you are going to get the tools and the strategies that you need to heal your heartbreak. Whether you're in the midst of it, whether it was a while ago, whether you're navigating, deciding in between if you want it to happen or not. You're going to get some strategies. We're going to have some insights and really stepping into this moment of being the emotionally available partner, being this stable force so that you can call in that match for you. Because I know that's what you want. I've spoken with so many of you as you were asking for links and stepping into this, of that's your deepest desire. And so we're going to be covering all of these things today. And so I'm curious to know, where are you guys tuning in from? How are we feeling? You can use the chat box as your like BFF. Flirt with someone. I have met some of my best friends in masterclasses and programs. Actually, I do a segment on my podcast with Steph. I actually met her in a mastermind in a program. I've literally met her one time in person. And so being in here, we actually are more 6 times as likely to be Serbia. Hi. More likely to have success when we are same page. Kayla, I'm coming for you. I'm so freaking excited to move. I actually decided to come early because I just like, I can't contain myself. Like I came back to Texas and I was like, I got the ick. And I'm like, I gotta just go. And I've actually been collaborating for hosting events and stuff there. So I hope to see you there. But let me pull up my notes so I make sure that I have everything. Sweetie, it's so good to see your face. And so flirt with someone. This is going to be exciting. Let yourself be seen. And this is going to be transformative. And so I'm going to pull up slides. Guys, I never use slides. I literally haven't used slides since 2018. So we're going to play with it. If we like it, we don't, let me know. But I have straight ADD brain. So I am going to see if this helps me stay a little bit more on topic. How do I do this? Share screen. Wait. Where's the button for share screen? See, this is how little I do this. Close. I was literally just using it. Anyone know how to do that? It's gonna annoy me. Pause. Oh, right there. It's literally highlighted in green. Wow. Okay, Laura, we are smashing this. One participant share at a time. Open screen. Do this. Share. Okay. Can we see this slide deck? Can you guys let me know? Oh yeah. Okay. I get a little like snapshot. I did it. Okay, let me move you guys back over on this screen so I can look at you. All right, my love. So healing from heartbreak. Why do I know this to be true? How do I know that high achievers, one, it's very different for us to heal from heartbreak. A lot of times when we come into these things, we see happy people. We see people living these dreams. We see people, I don't know, like me, experts in the field. And, we're moving into these kind of arenas and we're like, oh, they just kind of are born this way. Or, they had a happy childhood or something. I don't know if you have these beliefs or not, but I know I did. I would listen to a podcast when I was going through one of the deepest heartbreaks of my life. And I was like, these people, like, they're just lucky, like they have it figured out. But the truth is, coming up with healing from your heartbreak came from my deepest wounds. Because I remember sitting on a staircase with my brother not a few years ago, it was about 6 years ago, where I had been in a domestically violent relationship for about 2 years. And I was sitting on the staircase. He had flown me home because my life was just a shit show. And I remember him holding me, being like, you're going to reach out to him when you go back, aren't you? Because I was living in Asia at the time. And I was like, no. Like I had the desire to break myself off from this. I had the desire to heal myself. I had this fire inside of me, which you might relate to, where I was like, I don't want that to be my truth. But the truth is, as soon as that airplane's feet, whatever they're called, tires, hit the ground, my ex was the first person I called. It took me 7 tries to leave that relationship, which is the standard for domestic violence. That's like the statistic. And maybe it wasn't domestic violence, but for 2 years after that, and maybe you can't relate to domestic violence. I really hope you can't, but if you can, I see you in that and I hold you in that. But 2 years after that, I remember just feeling like I was addicted to a human. I was addicted to this heartbreak. I was addicted to him maybe calling me, him getting sober, him figuring his shit out, him loving me and realizing he made a huge ass fucking mistake, him, getting clean. And it drove me bananas. I lost myself to that, this deep desire of wanting to be chosen. And I went on and I distracted and I tried to get help and I did all the fucking things. And you've probably done that where it's like, I'm in therapy, I'm studying attachment, I'm learning all the somatics, I'm learning about psychology, I'm trying to get my shit together. I even built a very successful business, Healing to Happy 1.0, where it was a gut health, IBS, anxiety company. And I thought I could outrun my success. But anytime I got back into partnership, it was like I would sabotage it, or I'd be anxious, or I'd be insecure, or I would choose men that I knew I had more power over. And I would always just be stuck in these fucking cycles where it was like, I crave love so much and I'm so scared of it. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that person that broke me to pieces. And I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to love again because of that fucking thing. And at the time, I didn't have the vocabulary that I now have because I didn't study fully what I studied now. But it really came from the principles I'm going to be teaching you today and walking you through and understanding these things so that ultimately you can come home to yourself. Ooh, I hear a little bit of noise. If you can all mute yourself. So that you can come home to yourself and you can feel at peace. And so let's do this. And so today, I know that you're here because you want to. Can you make sure that you mute yourself? I think I can't open this up right now, making sure that everyone is, oh, there we go. There we go. So if you're here today, you know that you want to break free from the anxious attachment patterns and have this secure love where it's like, I feel so good with you. It's interdependence. I call it the pre-housewife era, pre-housewifies. It's this secure attachment where I know you want to feel like yourself with someone, feel like the person that you are right now when you're watching these programs and you're doing your stuff, that you're like, this is me, this is the real me. Why all of a sudden in my relationship I'm like overdoing it, overbearing, over kind of things, or distance and closed off? I know you want to move past the pains of your breakup so that you can build this emotional well-being and this understanding of self, and honestly knowing yourself in this type of way without the pain, without the narrative. And it's a question I get asked all the fucking time where it's like, how do I open my heart? How do I do these things? And it really does come from understanding yourself better. And ultimately from that space, you get to create these meaningful connections. And so is that why you're here? Actually, I would love to know in the chat, when you saw Healing from Heartbreak, what was that thing that you were like, that's it, I need to sign up for this, I need to show up for this, I need to be here for this? Why are you here? I'd love to know in the chat box. I'm going to read it in a little bit because sometimes I mess up my flow when I read it in the very moment. So if I don't answer right away, I will in a second when I check it. And so what I wanted to start off with doing this first is understanding anxious attachment. Oopsies. And so what is anxious attachment? Who here identifies with the term anxious attachment? If you want to raise your hand or put a 1 in the chat box. I know I was. And even now, like I work in this arena, I would love to tell you I'm fucking perfect at this. No, like there are tendencies when I'm not in alignment, when things happen, when I'm hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, which is what they teach you in Al-Anon, like halt before you make any fucking decisions. Like if I'm not in alignment, I will tend towards these anxious attachments. But how does this sabotage your relationship? The biggest wound of anxious attachment is abandonment. Are you going to leave me? Are you going to break my heart into a million fucking pieces? If I give you all of me, are you going to reject that and then leave? And so we do this thing. We overtext. We check their social media way too often. We keep them very active in our nervous systems. We overdo. We overgive. We overperform. We overanalyze. We're reading text messages, trying to figure out what's between the lines. We're suspicious when life gets good because it's too good. What if it's gone? We, have a hard time saying no in relationships. I hear this a lot where it's like you have your life in singlehood and then all of a sudden you're in partnership and you're like, who the fuck, like 90% of my time is catered to them. I used to do that, self-abandon, where it's like, but if I don't give you all of me and I say I don't want to do these things and I choose my life, are you still going to choose me? Or are you going to replace me? This type of energy becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the truth is 50% of the world is securely attached. They are. The pre-housewife era. We're going to get you to success in the pre-housewife era and securely attached. Oh, and by the way, if my eyes are darting, one, I put you guys right behind my camera over here. So I'm like looking right above you, and my notes are on this monitor. So I'm still with you. I'm just in these spaces. And so 50% of the population is securely attached. Oftentimes securely, fine, secure. So we're at this age, especially when we start to get older, where it's like those people kind of found each other and then we're kind of floating around being like, what the fuck? And the truth is, how polarity works is anxious and avoidant. We're just like magnets for each other because we're self-fulfilling prophecies. Anxious people are this: everybody leaves, everybody abandons me, I have to prove myself, I have to overdo it, I have to overgive. Very needy, very emotional human beings. These aren't bad things. I do want to emphasize these are none of these are bad. These are just all protective strategies of our nervous system. And so we need a little bit more, right? Until we get ourselves regulated. Avoidance, their biggest fear is rejection. And so they don't actually go all in, and they don't want to be too much, and they kind of pull away. Both are feeling the same things in our body. We just react in different ways. And so avoidance attract anxious, because avoidance are people are too needy. People are too much. People are this, people are that. And it's this whole kind of dynamic. And so we attract each other. We're like flies. So I actually have an example of this to show you guys from Sex and the City, because, oopsie. Where are we going? This looks like.
Zapier's automation is the easiest way
love
to get your pipeline in
advertisements.
motion.
You're welcome.
Connect
This is
with
brought to you by
the
Zapier.
Scale your workflows.
Okay.
Big arrived on the 9 p.m. flight. I was at his door by 10.
Can you hear it?
Home
Can someone check?
Bonjour. Voilà le French hat. Voilà le French fry. And it doesn't stop there. I have the Big Mac and the filet de fish.
What is all this?
It's an apology for being the bitch. Now, I've been thinking about this. We can make this work. We can, we'll do the phone sex. And if things get really bad, then I'll move to Paris for a while and write the Sex in the City.
That would be great.
Which one?
I don't care. But you'd be moving to Paris for yourself, right? I mean, don't move for me.
Well, why would I move to Paris if it wasn't for you?
I'm just saying, I don't want you to uproot your life and expect anything. What the fuck? You calm down.
You know what? I'm so now.
I have to be in a relationship where if I have to go to Paris, I have to go to Paris.
Fine, go to Paris, and then what happens to us next year when you decide you just have to go to Brazil?
This isn't about us. This is about work.
No, this isn't about work. This is about us getting closer and you getting so freaked out that you have to put an ocean between us.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Why is it so hard for you to factor me into your life in any real way?
Guess old habits die hard.
Maybe I can't do this. You said you loved me.
Yeah.
Then why does it hurt so?
How many of you have been through a scenario like that, where they said they love you, and it's this moment of, and you can see it with Big and you can see it with Carrie, right? Where it's, she's over She comes in and she's trying to fix it and she's trying to mold it. And she's like, I'll do this, I'll do that. And the avoidant is just like clenched, like, I don't want you to. And the thing is, this is what we're taught. This is modern dating. This is what we're modeled. This is what we see in every movie. For God's sake, this is how I taught myself love. I watched Sweet Home Alabama with my love. Like that was my thing. That's how I taught myself. And that whole movie is all around this stuff, right? This whole movie is chasing and they go away, they find themselves, we're romanticizing this stuff. And it's this anxious avoidant pattern that we chase, that we love. And then we're left thinking, if I would have just worked harder, if I would have just said something, if I just texted them. And you can see this in a little part of what Carrie does in that example, where she goes and she, guys, stop it. Sorry, the dogs are distracting me. Where she will sit there and she's like, okay, maybe I should just get some, or maybe I'll just go to, maybe I'll just call it quits on this. And that's an activating strategy that we often do, where it's like, let me text my ex and tell him I'm going no contact. Let me text my ex, or let me text someone and let me do this activating strategy so that we can do these kind of things. And what we want there is someone to chase us. That's what we know. This is what we're just responding to our nervous system. That's all it is. These are adaptive strategies. And so it's neither right nor wrong. It's just what you're doing. It's just how you learned to cope. If this is what, whether you're avoidant or anxious, this is how we lean into it. Just like, I actually heard this from Maddie Moon, and I love the example, just like plants, right? You look at, I don't know if you can see the little, I guess my microphone's kind of in the way a bit, but like that plant right there is leaning towards the window because it needs sunlight. It needs these things. For anxious, we sit and we need some type of chase. We need some reassurance. We need someone to make us feel better. The problem is this creates a gap. This becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy in relationship, because what you're doing is, one, you're in your masculine because you're chasing. And if you want a masculine partner, you want that highly available Viking that you guys hear me talk about, that you're calling in from this pre-housewife era. You have to be in your feminine, which means you have to receive, which means in that example, Big would have invited Carrie to Italy, right? Big would have taken her out to these things. And we see this in that entire dynamic of that show. I didn't personally watch that show so much. My best friend is obsessed with it. And so I was kind of Googling different scenarios of it. So I don't know it that well, but I do know theirs was a mismatch kind of thing. But this is what we're modeled, right? How many of you can relate to that feeling of just like, I am doing this for you. What do you mean? Like, I am doing these things. Why aren't you doing this for me? And we get stuck in these traps, especially when we're processing our breakups and we're processing our heartbreak, where it's like, I could have done better. I could have done these things. None of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. And it's hurtful. And we get trapped in this old paradigm thinking of, maybe I failed. Maybe it wasn't good enough. And we forget that the love that we have for ourselves is just being mirrored back to us in that moment. Our protective strategies are just being mirrored back to us in the moment. And when we can actually heal our protective strategies, a different set of circumstances gets mirrored back to us. And so before we jump into anything else, I really want to practice something really quick. So I specialize in trauma and somatic attachment therapy. I know I forgot to say that in the intro, because when someone says like, who am I get overwhelmed by it, honestly. But I am a dating and relationship specialist, and I specialize in trauma and somatic attachment therapy, especially for high achievers, because we get lost in the woo. And so I want to practice something with you before we jump into this educational piece. I want to practice into our body, right? I want you to shut down your eyes really quick. I want you to feel into your body really quick. Feel into your heart space. Feel what's happening there. I want you to feel a moment of love, whether that was with a person, whether that was with nature, whether that was with a pet or a best friend. And feel what that feels like. Sense in your body where it's at right now. Where does maybe some tension fall away? And noticing how nothing in this very moment changed, other than where your focus was. You can turn your love on. It is within you all the fucking time. all the time. And so I want you to come back to the room and hold that love, where it has nothing to do with what happened in your past or who you dated or any of these kind of things. It is something that is within you. And I really want to open that up within this training. And so within this training, the old model that we see, and I'm going to open up the slides again in a second, but the old model that we see is it's very cognitive, to be honest. And it's, either ignore your grief because it's too much. It's this model of, let's open this one. Here we go. So I don't do slides because then I can't just riff and then I get excited and then I lose my train of thought. It's very, ignoring the grief. It's too much. We don't want to feel it. We don't know how to move past it. It's very seeking immediate replacements. This is why swipe culture is the way that it fucking is. It drives me absolutely bonkers. Everyone there is wanting to avoid the pain and the grief and the feeling of this is too much and our anxiety and our discomfort and our validation. It's all this stuff all poured into an app instead of actually sitting in that, like the early 2000s, before we had these apps, and we actually dealt with heartbreak and we wrote really good songs and really good movies that no longer exist. We tend to blame ourselves. We tend to isolate ourselves, especially as high achievers, because when heartbreak happens, we feel like failures. We don't want people to see us in that. And so we don't talk about it. We want to be strong. We want to be the cool girl. We want to move ourselves through it. We overanalyze, especially with the pandemic model. We're sitting there and it's this analyzing what's wrong with me, what's wrong with them. Everyone's a narcissist. I have anxious attachment. What does that mean? I'm fucked. Oh my God, my nervous system is this way. Let me blame my parents. Like, it's just this whole thing that happens. And so the new model, and I'm going to talk about it in a second even more, is moving from me to we. And this is what you see me talk about with the pre-housewife era is, yes, there is a point of self-development and understanding yourself. That's why we're here. But there's also this point of, now, how do I merge this with another? How do I actually heal myself so much that I can actually call in the partner that I deeply desire, that I can alchemize my love, that I can really step into this? I'm ready to not only be chosen, but I'm ready to choose. I'm not only ready to, be loved, but I'm ready to love someone. I'm ready to be vulnerable with someone. I'm ready to be feminine. I'm ready to open myself up. And that's the new model. And so and this is just like a peek inside of what I'm teaching you in Alchemy of Love. I am going to talk on this. Don't be surprised. Obviously, it's a masterclass. We do these kind of things. And it would be a disservice if I didn't invite you to this, because this is what I'm going to show you. I'll go to this slide actually really quick, because this is easier to explain it. The map, what we're talking about today is the L, the letting go and the mastering, the attachment, securely attached mindset. We're going to be getting into that. I'm going to be giving you those 3 keys. But that's only one part. To actually have this successful model, to have you step into this full arena of pre-housewife era and the emotionally available and the things that we know, love, and desire, is opening yourself to love and really stepping into this. It's safe to love again. I'm no longer going to be carrying these things. I'm never going to be, losing ourselves to this stuff. And then we're opening up into the vulnerability and the boundaries and the mastering the art of communication, and, then moving into early stage dating and understanding men. Because that's the key thing, right? Is oftentimes we're dating men as if they're women and we're trying to understand these things, and we're missing this key element that I want to walk you through. And so that's the new model. That is the thing that we're going to master. And so if you're ready to learn how to heal your heartbreak and step into this pre-housewife era, let me know. Put a number. What number do we want? Let's do 7s. We see a whole bunch of 777s, because that's the vibe. Okay. So the first thing to the pre-housewife era, I'm going to stop sharing this so you guys can see my face while I talk about this. The first thing to the pre-housewife era is I can't do like a split screen. Let's fix me. Where'd my slides go, guys? Oh no. Sorry about that. Technical difficulty. That was weird. Canva. Imperfect action, y'all. That's what we got here. Okay. Oopsies. Let me mute that really quick. Okay. The first step to the pre-housewife era is the pre-housewifeies don't blame the person or fight with reality. The thing that drives me bonkers nowadays is this: everyone's a narcissist. Because they didn't choose me, everyone's a narcissist. and this very outward approach to relationships and dating. And instead of accepting what is the truth, which is reality, and we can't fight it, it's this arguing, like trying to argue. And there's actually this quote that I wanted to read to you from Michael Singer, called from the book, what is it called? Untethered Soul. The cause of suffering is desire. In other words, the cause of suffering is preference, deciding how you want things to be and getting upset when they're not that way. And so we go through life where, if I have this vision for my life, I want my relationships to be a certain way, I want my business to be a certain way, I want my body to be a certain way, I want everyone to act in alignment for how I want them to act. And if they don't act into that, I'm going to be very upset. I have the preferences of how I want my life to be. We lean towards the things that we like. Ooh, Sarah. We lean towards the things that we like, and we lean away from the things that we don't like. And then we get very disturbed and very upset when the things that we don't like happen, i.e., someone breaks up with us. And what we do is we store that. We store that as, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not enough. And then that affects the next relationships that come next. And so we fight with this reality, and we do things a little bit ungracefully. I don't know if any of you have seen a previous post of mine where I talk about like a graceful exit. A graceful exit is knowing when to let go, knowing how to let go. And that doesn't mean you don't have moments of anger and grief and sorrow and disappointment and bitterness and wanting to act out the feminine rage and like send these wild ass, the amount of times that I've put in my notes section wild ass text messages I've wanted to send ex-partners, the limit does not exist. It's these kind of things where it's like, but you just don't let yourself, because the thing that I have embodied in any breakup that I've ever gone through since developing these principles is leave the relationship like you would a house. If you're getting it ready for a sale, you leave it ready for the next sale. You don't trash the house. You actually make it even more beautiful so it has a higher price point, don't you? That's how you do relationships, even if you're the one that got dumped. Even if someone cheated, even if any of these things, you sit there and you go, this just wasn't for me. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. This wasn't for me. And also, this is a practice of you getting to respect the masculine. Because the truth is, you want a masculine partner that's going to lead, provide, protect you, do all these kind of things. That person that decided to leave you is showing you their type of leadership in this moment. And that sometimes we try and fight that. We try and maneuver, we try to manipulate, we try to sell ourselves to them. And why do we do this as ambitious women? The truth is, we're ambitious women. Let me know if this relates to you. We frequently connect our sense of self-worth with our success. And that has to do with relationships too. And so when a breakup happens, what's happening is it's triggering this fear of inadequacy, this fear of failure, this fear of, if I would have just done something better, been someone different, said something a little bit differently, dressed a little bit differently, had a different body type, was a little bit more sexually expressed or liberated or what have you, a little bit more emotionally controlled, this wouldn't have happened. And the truth is, maybe, but also that's fully who you are. And there is in relationship compromise and understanding these things and understanding the person, but a person that truly loves you isn't going to get mad at you for an adaptive strategy you had. A lot of times with anxious attachment, we're getting mad at ourselves for anxious attachment, not understanding it's just an adaptive strategy that our amygdala got. So we have the different parts of our brain, and when we go into a strategy, we go from our prefrontal cortex to our limbic system to our amygdala. And so our amygdala is basically our barking guard dog. And so our barking guard dog is just like going off all the time. And if we don't have a consistent partner and we don't have someone that's secure for us or teaching us a thing, or we haven't done what I teach you in Alchemy of Love to become the securely attached human being, we then are projecting onto these people and we're living out our amygdala responses. There's no safety in these moments. And so it's not this moment of like, let me fight reality and somehow I could have done better. And this person is the one that got away. I hear that time and time again. It's the person that got away, or it's the right person, wrong timing. And we get hung up on these things as opposed to moving forward, as opposed to truly letting go. Because if something was for you, it wouldn't, not that it wouldn't have gone, because some things do come back. I'm going to talk about a client, Lindsay, but in the vibration of where it's at, it doesn't work. And you have to go on this journey. And so my client, Lindsay, who she actually, let me pull this up for you really quick. So Alchemy of Love started as Sacred Singlehood. And so she joined Sacred Singlehood when she was still in a relationship, and her partner and her were kind of on the rocks, and she was realizing how she was self-abandoning and she wasn't there. And she was having a really hard time accepting the fate and the reality of what was going on. And so what she found was, I want to find me in this process and then see where this relationship lands. And so she ended up closing the relationship because he wanted an open relationship and she wasn't available for that. And she's like, that's actually crossing my boundaries. And I actually want to go on this journey of finding myself. And she went to Bali and she went traveling and she went on this whole journey and really did. She ended up starting her own yoga practice and getting a new job and focusing on herself for like 5 months. And that's the art of it. She didn't fight with reality anymore. She just created the reality that she wanted. And that's what a heartbreak gives you. A heartbreak is one of the biggest ayahuasca journeys of your life. It really fucking is. And so then she sends me this. I mean, what day is today? It is August 23rd. So however many days ago, a week ago, she sends me this, that her partner actually came back into her life, or her ex-partner. And at this time, and this is what I want you guys to get to, is when you go on a journey and you regulate your nervous system, the things of the past, if they don't rise to meet you, they're no longer, like, it's not a match. You evolve so much and you become now securely attached that anyone that was avoidant or anyone that didn't get their shit together in that time period, it doesn't fucking turn you on anymore. It doesn't activate that limbic part of your brain anymore, because the truth is, when you can regulate yourself, someone's lack of interaction with you, it becomes fucking boring. Someone ghosts you, it becomes fucking boring. You're like, this isn't a thing that turns me on anymore. This isn't a thing I want to play with, because you have now self-discovered. You have moved through these processes to sit in this space of like, I know I'm rare and valuable, and I'm going to go create the life that proves that. And so instead of, thinking because of our trauma brain that maybe I could have done better or said something or looked different or something like that, it's, you did enough. You really did. And now it's time to alchemize and step into the season of attracting what you deserve. And that doesn't necessarily mean the person's going to come back to you, but I have a true belief, and I actually have it tattooed on my arm, that if not this, something better. Always. And it's just repeating that phrase to yourself where it's like, if not this, something better. And it's going to feel fucking fake at first. It really is. But it's when you start acting as though it's real for you, things start to change. And it's okay that you feel like an imposter. We all feel like a fucking imposter. We all do in the beginning stages, because it just feels like everything is painful, and it feels like it's weird because you're trying on different shoes that you haven't even tried before and all this kind of stuff. And so it's this different arena. How are we feeling about number 1? Do we have any questions about that? I know some people had to jump off. Y'all were private messaging me, but I just want to see. We're good? Okay. Number 2 is free housewifey. Process their experiences properly, and then re-enter the joy of their life. This goes back to this, I should have known better. And one of my mentors actually says it, and I love it, where she says, you're the best you've ever been, and you're the worst that you'll ever be. You're always going to be in this void of growth, especially if you're in programs like this and you're moving forward. It's in this relational space, we get very mad at ourselves, and then we do this part where it's like we ground ourselves, like our inner mother comes out and we're like punishing ourselves, like we can't have fun, we can't go do things, we have to throw ourselves into work, we have to throw ourselves into self-development, we can't have any fun, can't go see our friends, like we isolate ourselves because I don't know, we feel like we fucked up. There's 3 breakups I went through in my life. One being the domestically violent one, where that one, it broke me to pieces. Like I said, it took so long. There was trauma bonding and codependency, and there was bigger attachment wounds than most other things. But that one off the back end, I threw myself into the self-development process and into work. And I built, my first company, and it was really successful and all these kind of things. But I remember when that moment hit of, I should be happy. Like, I have the numbers in my bank account. I'm literally in magazines and written about in journals and things of this nature and sold out events. Like, why am I not happy? And so I went on this whole journey, and that's what started to birth the Alchemy of Love process that was then called Sacred Singlehood. And I ended up finding and coming back to America, and because I lived in Asia for 6 years. And so I ended up coming back to America to find this man that kept coming up in my meditations, with the man with this anchor tattoo, and he was going to fly me around to New York to come see my friends. And it was this whole thing. And then I met this guy. Met him, man with the anchor tattoo. He ended up being a pilot. He flew me wherever the fuck I wanted for 2 years. Even after our breakup, he flew me around for a year. And so that breakup was more of travel and expansion and experiencing different types of things. But I wasn't experiencing my solitude. I wasn't experiencing the alchemy of actually stepping into femininity and these emotions and understanding that I don't need to carry things with me. Like, I didn't get that part yet. And then I ended up falling too soon for someone. And that when that relationship ended, it was that time when it was like hands on the steering wheel being like, fuck this. Fuck this. I'm so fucking done with my own shit. And I remember that moment so fucking clearly, where it's like something needed to change, and I was responsible for making that change. And that meant I needed to experience it. All the fucking shit that I've been trying to run away from for 10 fucking years. The feelings of not good enough, the feelings of abandonment, and I sunk into this deep fucking depression. But I let myself sink. I call it my floaties that I put myself in, where it was this, like, I had my spiritual team, I had my mentor, I had my knowledge of decades of studying this stuff. I had my people, my best friends, and then I had my confidence that I actually wouldn't do anything crazy, even though I was had a little bit of suicidal ideation. Like, it was, my brain just broke. My brain just fucking broke. And I remember just sinking and being like, it's not actually so bad here. And things that I missed for a decade of my life because I was forward thinking nothing was good enough, thinking I needed to protect myself, thinking I was so afraid of this dark side of my brain. This is actually why Steph and I do Unplugged on my podcast, because it's showing the dark side of the high achiever's mind, because we all fucking have one. It's this dark, twisted thing that you may not be able to identify fully in, but there's this part that we're trying to fucking outrun because of our past, the worthiness wounds, the abandonment wounds, the rejection wounds, the things that, like, we keep fucking thinking, if I earn enough, if I find someone to love me, if my body looks a certain fucking way, I won't feel this. But it's never enough. It's called the hungry ghost in Buddhist culture. It's this hungry fucking ghost that never goes away. And I realized that was the block. I realized that was the block. Because the truth is, and I love this example Michael Singer gave, where it's like, we do this thing where something hurts us. We get a broken heart. Our parents leave us. Something happens. I did that. My mom died from addiction. I got pissed. She fucking chose drugs and alcohol over me. My dad chose a different fucking family. I got so fucking pissed that he didn't want to be a parent. He wanted to choose money and women over me and my brother. My brother chose moving to Japan. Everyone chose other things but me. I was so fucking pissed. And so I stored it. So any single time someone even inched about leaving, I would lean forward. I'd freak the fuck out. And then I'd do my avoidant tendency, be like, fine, fuck. And I'd leave. And I'd close myself off. I was never truly fucking open. And so Michael Singer explains this, where it's like, if you go to a bad restaurant and you have the worst meal of your whole fucking life, and you're like, can I get a doggy bag to take that home? And they're like, okay. and you take it and you put it in your fridge, and it's with all the other things that you fucking hate, and it's all in your fridge, and every single morning you walk in and you take a little forkful of each one because you want to remember how much you fucking hate it. That's what we do with these blocks. That's what we do when we don't fully experience these moments. When we keep ourselves closed. And the truth is, if you process your experiences properly, they no longer have the power to haunt you. They just propel you into your growth. Does it mean they don't hurt? Absolutely the fuck not. Blockages coming out hurt so much. That's the thing that we feared, right? That's why I ran my whole life running, or spent my whole life running from these things and chasing success and doing this fucking shit and externally being validated and all this fucking shit, propelling love. Because I didn't want to experience the actual deep emotion. But when you create the safe place to explore that, and I'm whatever that is for you, when it's no longer I'm not good enough, or someone doesn't choose you, or you're in this moment right now where it's like, I'm not feeling chosen, I'm not feeling seen, this person did abandon me, this person did cheat on me, this person didn't send this thing, they just fucking ghosted me, this person, used me in some type of way. We have this stuff that, like, these things are so real. They're so real. And I'm not denying the validity of them, but the thing is, we create this narrative around it as opposed to just experiencing it. And that's what I want you to do, is just, how can you experience your heartbreak? How can you experience this moment without meaning anything about you, without meaning you're not worthy, you're not lovable? And where are you blocking yourself from love? And this is going to be point 3. Where are you blocking yourself from love? Because you're not fully experiencing these moments. Because it's something you're trying to protect yourself from, and it's something you're trying to avoid happening again. That's one of the biggest things, isn't it? It's, well, I don't want this to happen, and it hurt last time, so I'm going to remember how much it hurt, and I'm going to project my insecurities onto my next partner. I'm going to talk about how my partner broke up with me before. I'm going to talk about how my dad left me. I'm going to talk about how my brother left me. I'm going to talk about all these kind of things that had nothing to do with the person sitting in front of me. Your job is to not do that. Is to take this time. Don't miss one of the best ayahuasca journeys of your life by trying to fix it. Experience it. There's something so feminine about heartbreak. One thing that got me through my last heartbreak was, what if this is the last one? What if this is like the last, not that nothing else in my life is ever I'm a very emotional human being, and I have like 87 personalities a day. Not that anything else is gonna ever make me cry or break my heart, but what if this is actually the like last rupture that breaks my fucking heart? And what if my daughter goes through this one day? Because let's be fucking honest, my future daughter is gonna go through a few heartbreaks, because it's not a one and done situation. How do I want to experience this so I can tell her this story? What do I want to tell her about what I did, who I became, how I changed the lineage of relational models within our family dynamic because of how I went through this? And that changed everything for me. And I want you guys to adopt that mindset, to have that shift where it's like, this isn't the end. It's not even close to the fucking end. This is the pivot in your life. This is the moment where things get to shift. This is where you step into that and you move from, okay, I realize maybe my past relationships, my past things, I've been so focused on me. I've been so focused on pop psych and all the fucking shit that came up during COVID, because that's what happened, folks. We got so hyper obsessed on social media, diagnosing ourselves that everything is a goddamn red flag, that we forgot how to connect with human beings. And we forgot how to be a we, because we no longer feel safe to do that. Is this landing for you? Does this feel like something that you're seeing in the dating culture and you're seeing in your lives right now as you're navigating this stuff? Because the truth is, what I've seen through not processing our experiences is we've just isolated ourselves from love. And I don't want you to do that. You get to have fun in this process. You don't have to sit in circles and like do the kumbaya thing and isolate. Like we do that and then we get in partnership and then we end up quote unquote self-sabotaging, which is actually self-protection in the relationship, because it's not really that you're healed. It's just you isolated yourself to avoid triggers from others. And so it's getting back in the arena, and it's not so much, and this is why Alchemy of Love is the 4-month process, and we're getting out in the arena and we're talking about all these things, because it's getting in the arena. You can acquire so much knowledge. What I want you to do is get back in the game after this. Is to go with an open heart, unafraid. A little bit afraid, let's be fucking honest. It's just learning how to walk with fear. And you do it anyways, because you can still have a grieving heart, a tender heart, and be moving forward. 100%. And so to recap, 1 is a secure person, pre-house baby, doesn't blame the person or fight reality. 2 is they process their emotions properly and they re-enter the joy of their life. And so 3 is you become emotionally available and realize that you don't have to do it anymore alone, because the high and low side of a high achiever mind is we love to isolate ourselves and do it alone, because when we feel a little bit weak and vulnerable, it feels scary as fuck. And it's that fear of, but what if it doesn't work out? What if I go all in? What if I open myself up to this person? What if that person doesn't come back? And we build up these walls. And the truth is, and I've worked with hundreds of women by now, ladies, when we're attracting unavailable partners, it's often because you are unavailable. And it breaks my heart that happens, because too often it's you're craving love. I know you deeply want it. I know that's the thing that's like on your heart more than anything. But we weren't taught any of this. We don't have the skills. I'm going to guess that you're probably the person that's in your family lineage that's changing that narrative, because we're the first in modern dating that we have tech. We aren't marrying to go to MRS college. We're not doing these types of things anymore. Like, we are the ones that are showing up in order to lead a new way in love. And I bet you're feeling that in this heartbreak, where it's like, I want to create a new narrative for whether it's my children or just my family lineage or some type of way. Right? I know I felt that. And we have learned these protective strategies. We've learned this anxious attachment. We've learned these coping strategies in relationship. And the only way to unlearn them is in relationship again. But we take this time period of learning about ourselves, and then we turn back into this we turn back into, okay, how can I practice this? And the truth is, I know for me, I was afraid of doing this with partners at first. I was afraid of being vulnerable. I was afraid of commitment. I was afraid of being of service because I didn't want to be taken advantage of. I was afraid of being all of me, which is like this goofy motherfucker that's also like very refined, very driven. I have big fucking goals that intimidate a lot of people. I have this drive that a lot of people can't understand, but I'm also like a fucking toddler and I love to play in waves and like do all these. There's so many parts. But I learned to hide these things and not bring them to relationship, because I thought they'd be rejected of some type of way, or, I just didn't want to be hurt again. I really didn't want to be hurt again. And so it was in friendship that I started to practice these things, because that felt safer. I actually just did a podcast with my best friend on this, if you guys want to go listen to that, because we dive deeper into this, and I know I am being aware of the time right now, where vulnerability is scary to the high achiever, because we've learned to provide our own. We've learned to stand on our own 2 feet. We've learned all of this, that people are unreliable. And we built up these fucking walls that, I'm going to say the right thing or do the right thing so that you can choose me. Just like we saw in that episode with Big and Carrie. I'm going to choose to go to Paris even though I don't really want to. I'm going to bring you the Chick-fil-A and the act and the running around like a beret and whatever, and then you'll choose me and then you'll love me, right? And then it becomes even more disappointing when that person doesn't choose you because you weren't even acting like yourself. But the truth is that feels safer. That feels safer because if you denied who I really was, that would hurt more. Right? So if you deny, reject, abandon the version of me that isn't actually me, then yeah, I'm pissed and I have a bruised heart, but I can at least blame it on something. I see this too much because that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is the emotionally unavailable woman. That is that masculine shield that's protecting your fucking heart. That's actually cock-blocking you from the love that you deeply desire. And if you want love, it's opening yourself to that. It's truly feeling into that. And I get that that's scary. But even in your heartbreak, can you stay open? Even in these moments of knees on the floor, eating ice cream pantsless with a fork. Because that was me. Can you stay open to your friends supporting you? Can you stay open to yourself? The thing that happens a lot is I see high achievers where it's like, I had a white picket fence family. I had a white picket fence family at first, done at 16, everything kind of ruptured with my parents' divorce and addiction and things like that. But because we had a good childhood, or because it shouldn't be this bad, because I didn't experience big T trauma, we gaslight ourselves. And then we get mad at ourselves because I should be acting a certain way and I should be responding in a better way and I should know better than this because I've been in therapy and I shouldn't be anxious and I shouldn't be doing these things, blah. But then you're not fully experiencing the moment, and then you're not actually becoming emotionally available to yourself. You are the person that you get to practice this moment with. And it's that thing of like, am I going to get fully lost in this? Am I going to lose my savage edge? Am I going to lose myself in the emotions? Because if I crack this open, I don't know what else is going to come through. But you're here, which means you got it. And the only way to shift a pattern is to feel it and stop denying that it's there. Because the truth is, you're the common denominator in every single relationship that you've ever freaking had. It's not the outside world. It's you. It's your internal world being reflected in your outside world. And sometimes that can make us cringe because I can look back and I can be like, well, I'm not at fault for domestic violence. Fuck no. I'm not at fault for someone cheating on me. I'm not at fault for the abandonment wounds. No, you're not. Neither was I. But the truth is, I can go back to each one of those moments and I hated myself. I didn't want to be alive. And so my outside world was chaotic and it matched that. And it was scary and it wasn't safe. And it wasn't until I understood that I get to create secure attachment with myself. I'm not going to wait for someone to invite me to that anymore. And you shouldn't either. The thing about the nervous system, the coolest thing about the nervous system, yes, 50% of us, we're born that way. Maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's they're born that way with strong foundations. But your nervous system, if heat is not applied, it stays the same. But just like plastic, if heat's applied, you can make literally whatever you want out of it. It's just applying the right heat. And you might be thinking like, yes, I've done the therapy. I've done the thing, blah, blah, blah. Like there is moving from the brain to the body, which feels fucking scary. Being aware of what this vessel is doing, paving the new neurotransmitters, because your brain has been firing and wiring for X amount of years. However you've been on this planet, it's been firing that way, specifically, pre-age 10, yes, but like my shit started when I was 16. And then paving that way, so that's 14 years that it was going a certain way, or I guess 10 years it was going a certain way. And so you're going to feel fucking foreign. It's going to feel repetitious. It actually takes 1 to 2 years to fully change, depending how much stuff is in there. And so don't give up on that. But the truth is, you have to go all in on it. my pastor said this one time, and it fucking rang so true. Where it was like, you know, we say doing something crazy or something psychotic is doing things, same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's one way. Immaturity is doing something one time and expecting a different result. And that's often what I see in this arena when it comes to relational patterns and it comes to these things, is that we're sitting there and it's like, well, I've done one thing. I've read one book. I've listened to this podcast. I've done a workshop. Why the fuck isn't this working? People that shift their nervous system are people that go all in on this. It's true. And you know it. It's just like in business. When you go 3 to 6 months all in on your business, everything else is maintenance from there. But you got to go in and build it first. It's the same thing with your relationships. And so if you're looking to call in that emotionally available partner, you're looking to, you know, call in someone that's looking to provide, protect, lead, step into the arena with you. It starts with you and you becoming emotionally available to yourself, and you getting in the arenas that sometimes expand you, but sometimes fucking scare the living tits off of you. And then you step into these things. That's what happens. And so these are the 3 keys for moving in this department. I'm going to repeat them really fucking quick, and then I'm going to drop the workbook. So pre-housewifeies, don't blame the person or fight with reality. They process their experiences properly and then re-enter the joy of their life, which is the feminine essence, is joy and play. Pre-housewife era is you becoming emotionally available, realizing that you don't have to do this alone, and finding safety and vulnerability. It's one of the deepest things. It's one of the best things, because when you start to realize that you're not searching for the love you want from him or anyone else, you're searching for the love that you want from you, that you weren't given in your childhood or from previous relationships. And when you can start to give that to yourself, you set yourself free. How did this land for you guys? What's coming up for you? What are you feeling? I'm going to drop the link for this workbook. File, share with others. This workbook, I love it. It's to help you with identifying your emotional needs so you can have more emotionally connected and regulated relationships. Let me put this here. Everyone in meeting. There you go. My biggest heartbreaks come from parents and myself. Ready to move past them. Abandonment for sure. Yeah, I see that. So often. So often. It comes with parents, and then we kind of perpetuate the cycle, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And only when we set ourselves free and welcome ourselves home does this start to shift. And so I really want that to be the message, where it's like, in order to change, it's mastering this art of secure attachment. It's really embodying these principles of like knowing it's our choice how we make things. It's our narrative. Yes, things are fucking hard. Life is hard. But something that's always helped me through it all, through losing my mother, through my own addictions that I've had to grapple with, through eating disorders, through domestic violence, through sexual assault, through all the abandonment, all the things, when I'm going through something, if my future children were to ever go through this, how do I want them? What's the story I want to tell? And it holds me to such a higher degree. And that's how I got into this work. Who did I become? Laura Patricia Martin. What did I do? I helped hundreds of people because of what I went through. And it held me to a higher standard, so I can now show up here. And so what is that for you? What is that next move for you there? And I know things are hard. I know things are difficult. But when you can alchemize your love, when you can become that type of woman that trusts without trying to fight reality, without trying to be something more or something different, everything around you changes. And so I am going to extend this and invite you into Alchemy of Love. I'm going to share the slides here to talk about it a little bit more. But if you're complete, you're complete. I'm excited that you were here. It means the world. But for me, it'd be a disservice if I didn't share the program that changed everything for me. And it's gotten even more of this like makeover. How do I open this makeover journey? Because I wanted something that my biggest mission, y'all, is to help people find love. It's even in my gene keys. It's, I know the world to be a better place. And it sounds so fucking hippie, and I get it. But I think of if I would have been raised by a mother that loved herself, one, she'd still be here. If I would have been modeled what polarity is and how to be a wife and a partner, if I would have understood how my past and my life and all the things in my life, like how that influenced my business, my relationship to my body, my health, my relationship to my girlfriends and my friends, my dating, like if I would have understood this, it's like I would have saved myself a whole bunch of time. But the thing is, I didn't have that luxury in my life. But God gifted me the struggles that I had so that I could then teach them. And I wish I would have had things like this. But instead of just doing what I did, which is I threw myself into studying for 10 years, went to school, sex therapy, communication, sociology, yes, somatic attachment therapy, like all that kind of stuff that I get to compile into 4 months for you. I also got the lived experience. And I know when these things come, when people talk about programs, like I don't have to fucking sell you on a program. That's not my job. That also wouldn't be in alignment to me. Because I know when I'm looking for programs, I'm just looking for the right person. I already want it. I already want love. I already want the methods. I already want the person I believe in. I don't necessarily need to know the structure and the things. And although that's important, it's like, it's the person. Do I believe in the mission? Do I believe in what they're doing? And you're a brilliant human being. And that's the space that I feel like you're at, right? Where it's like, you know, you want love. I don't need to sell you on that. We need love. We get it. But it's how to go about doing that. Right. And so I wanted to create this soft corner of the internet that felt more personal, that felt more real. And a lot of things are very teachy based, and you're going to get that in these modules. You're going to get a new module every week. So it's going to be like 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off for 4 months. And so you get the modules on Sunday, and those are pre-recorded. And then on Tuesdays, we have live Q&A calls so that we can jump actually into your personal life. So you can come in and you can talk about business, you can talk about relationship, you can talk about your dating life, you can share a conversation and we can dissect it. And it's that type of friendship that you want from your girlfriends that sometimes we don't get because we live in a very, yes, queen, do it, be yourself, be authentic, da 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 da, and nothing fucking gets changed era because we're all so afraid of being ostracized. And so when you have a specialist and you have someone that you can sit down with that can give you actual tangible feedback so that you can change your nervous system, change the way you communicate with men so you can ultimately get your end goal, which is long-term partnership, it changes the game. And so I've added that into this. So it's not just you learning, you actually get me in your corner and you get a private community inside Telegram so that you're all connected 24/7. So even if you have an issue and it's not on a Tuesday, you can drop it in there and we can either bring it to the call or you have people there that you can bounce things on. And like I said at the beginning of this, you are 6 times more likely to have success in community. That's how it works because you're held accountable. A lot of times we're doing this stuff on the back end. That's why therapy, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the things that we're going through. And we shift through these things. And so when we're sitting into this stuff, it's like, you know, I have my clients and I have the testimonials and you guys can fucking read all of these on the page. And it works because when we have these things and you can bump in and you can see these people where it's like you're married, you're trying to get your groove back, or you are trying to fix things with your husband or your daughter, and you finally feel like you can talk to someone. Like that's the space where it's like, how often have you been in programs, especially as a high achiever, where you feel like you're painting this awesome picture of your life and you feel like you can't even fucking say what's actually going on? And so the thing that I love about my spaces is I have people that do come to me in tears and do feel like they can talk to me and are open to tell me what's truly going on, what insecurities. We talk about sex, we talk about money, we talk about influence, we talk about how much they're annoyed with their fucking kids and they can't talk to them, how scared they are of their kids that they can't talk to them, how they're going on dates and how they're trying to disconnect from their ex-husbands and how they don't know how to communicate. Like there's just this energy that comes into these things that I feel is so fucking missing from the relational space. For you to be you. And I remember when I was going on this journey, and why this sets it apart is there's so much woo in this space where it's like feminine energy. Don't get me wrong, we talk about feminine energy because it's very fucking important and we need it if we want a masculine partner, but there's science to it and there's tangibility. And it's not me just saying, hey, connect to your womb space and somehow think it and make it so. Because I remember when someone fucking said that to me, I was like, I am going to lose it if someone tells me to check in with my womb one more fucking time. What does that mean? And why do you keep saying it? And when I actually started to understand what was happening in the left side of my brain, I got to move into the right side of my brain and I got to understand how these things all come together and reconnect to your soul. And so I did just drop the link if any of you do want to jump in. And how do I move back to here? And so what's included is you get new trainings every single week for 4 months. Like I said, it's every Sunday for the first 3 weeks. Then you have a week of integration, 3 weeks, week of integration. So there is no keeping up. Everything is super tangible. Everything is kept between 25 and 40 minutes. I know sometimes people go off on tangents. I'm going to give you what you need to know versus wasting your fucking time. You're a busy individual. So you get to fit them into your schedule. There is no like live thing that you need to keep up with, but keeping that momentum is actually how you have success. You have that. We have our live calls every Tuesday, like I said, 3 times a month. You have the accountability group, Telegram, your best friends on the internet. Like I said, that's where I've met most of my best friends because sometimes the human realm just doesn't work for me. I mean, not the human realm, but like circumstances. And so I think the internet is a glorious place for that. And then the thing that sets it apart is it's nervous system regulation tools. So I'm actually going to show you how to regulate your nervous system so you can date with more ease, not just like, hey, look at this slide deck and do these kind of things. Yes, we're going to be doing that, but it's also what are the daily practices to get your nervous system to be expanded to receive love? Because if you're not used to receiving love, an anxious person also will quote unquote self-sabotage. And that's what we're trying to move away from so that you can actually receive love and you can feel safe in it and you can become the securely attached human being. That's what really sets me apart, because that's my specialty. And so normally this is $2,222. Right now for 72 hours, it's going to be $17,177. And so there is a payment plan available for 4 months. You can pay $444 a month for that. And then signing up today, you will get access to Unattached. We're going to add that in there, which is a 3-part series for reprogramming your anxious attachment style, because this isn't starting until October. So you can actually start getting going on this 3-part series. And then if you pay in full, you actually get access to one-on-one sessions. And so to jump in, I'm going to make this super easy for you guys. You can either book in a complimentary discovery call. I know for me, that's what I like to do. I either like to slide into someone's DMs or I like to like voice note back and forth to get a good feel. And or you can book in a complimentary discovery call. And if you book in a discovery call now between the next 72 hours, you will lock in that price point of $1,700, because I know we probably won't get on a phone call within the next 72 hours. But you will lock that in if you book in a call. You can reach out to me in DMs after this. I would love that anyways, just kind of chat with you guys and hear your feedback. You can jump straight into that link that I just sent you. I do have VIP options, so you can upgrade to one-on-one with me. And you can jump in and we will add 3 one-on-one calls a month. You'll see that in there. And then we get 4 months together, baby. And so the biggest thing for this is that it's not about finding the one. And we spend so much time in this arena where it's like, how do I, like the amount of times in my DMs, and I don't mind them, it's fine, but it's like, let's process what he's saying or what his texts are or what's going on and da 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 da. What I care about is you. How do we make you so irresistible? How do we make you the one that is this little lively force, a feminine ball of energy that understands herself, that is fully healed, that is a magnet to love? That's what I'm focused on. It's about you becoming the one that it's like you have so many options, that you are the thing that's rare and valuable, that you are the thing that is the hot commodity, that is the thing. So that's my goal for this whole thing, this space, this movement, all the kind of stuff. I'd love to hear from y'all what came fresh for you or what questions you have on anything, whether it's around anxious, avoidant, whether it's about a breakup, whether it's about alchemy of love. Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself and you can ask them. Anything? You guys hear the dog snoring in the background? All right, my loves. Well, this has been such a gift. I have loved seeing everyone come in and out. I love seeing you guys stay the whole time. I hope you found so much value in this. You're gonna be seeing a lot of stuff. We're gonna be starting beginning of October for Alchemy of Love. And it's just the art. It's literally the legacy. And so you're gonna see a lot of stuff over on Instagram. If you haven't followed me there, it's Laura Patricia Martin is my personal one. And you can reach out with any questions. If you didn't feel comfortable asking them here, you can definitely just shoot me a DM and we can go back and forth there. I'll see you in the complimentary calls. But yeah, I'll see you somewhere on the internet, babies. And I can't wait to take this next step with y'all and connect even deeper. Mom, enjoy the rest of your days, whatever time zone it's in. Bye, love bugs.